Ron Futrell, sports anchor at 8 News Now, KLAS TV, Las Vegas, gives us the inside like nobody else can. Today on Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily podcast on the Athletics, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. I am your host, Booney. One name, all passion. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. I'm from the Bay Area, and I've been a die-hard A's fan since 1981. This isn't just another A's podcast. This is the most informative and insightful show on the A's, period. We cover the A's every single day, breaking down games, delivering the latest team news, and giving you deep, thoughtful analysis you will not find anywhere else. If it's happening in Sacramento or in Las Vegas, we have got you covered. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. And please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. When you are talking about a man whose name is synonymous with sports in Las Vegas, you are talking about Ron Futrell. For 41 years, Ron has been the voice, the storyteller, and the heartbeat of sports in Las Vegas. Over the decades, Ron has covered nearly every major sporting event imaginable. Stanley Cup Finals, Super Bowls, World Series, NBA Finals, NCAA championships, you name it. He's been there. He has chronicled the evolution of Las Vegas sports like no one else. From the electrifying rise and fall of UNLV Rebel basketball to legendary boxing bouts, from NASCAR races to meteoric careers of local heroes like Greg Maddux, Andre Agassi, Randall Cunningham, and Mike Tyson. Ron has seen it all. Ron Futrell is more than just a sports anchor. He is a Las Vegas institution. His career is a testament to excellence, perseverance, and an unrelenting love for sports. Today, I had the honor of speaking with Ron, talking A's in Vegas, from the vibe of the city to potential groundbreaking. He gives us his take on the influence of the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, who seems to have been right in the middle of everything regarding the A's move. Today, Ron gives us insight that nobody else can. Ron, big league weekend just completed out in Vegas where the Aviators play, and it seemed like the turnout was great. What is the general vibe right now in Las Vegas towards the A's coming? Is it still too soon? We're still 3 years away. Is it mixed? Is it pro, etc.?
Yeah, I think it's a cautious optimism right now, with the emphasis on the optimism. So that people are excited about this, that they want to see it happen. There's been some different alliterations of this and different locations and different timing and stuff like that. So I get that. But I think for the most part, I mean, it's hard, especially in this city. This is a city that does things pretty impulsively. we want tourists to come here and be impulsive. So we sort of have that personality to us, a little bit of impulsiveness. So it's hard to be impulsive about something that's 3 years down the road. But I talked to baseball fans at the stadium. We did a story last night on my sportscast here in town on the excitement that people are feeling. Now, I get it. If you're at a preseason game for the A's in Las Vegas, you're going to have people excited about the A's coming here to Las Vegas. So that part is important to note. But I think for the most part, people are excited. I've thought from day one that this was going to happen. I know there's a lot of cynical media, a lot of cynical fans. Typically, I'm pretty cynical. Typically, I'm the guy that plays the cynic. I can go years, and I got 4 decades of history here in town being pretty cynical when it comes to sports stuff. On this one, it felt good from the start because the convention authority wanted to make it happen. Steve Hill wanted to make it happen. It seemed John Fisher wanted to make it happen, the owner of the A's. And I felt optimistic that when Vegas sets its mind to doing something, it usually does it. It makes it happen. And that was sort of the way I felt from day one with this. And I think it's borne out to be true now that we're still 3 years away, but it's going to happen. The A's are coming to Vegas.
That's a great point you make. And a lot of the skepticism out there right now with regard to Fisher's history is valid to a certain degree, right? I mean, we've seen project after project after project in the Bay Area fail. And we're not going to get into exactly how that happened, and we'd be here forever. But with regard to timing, with regard to groundbreaking, we still have a vague picture. It's been said, hey, Q2 of this year, which basically means between April and June. Do you have any feel or how that is progressing or when groundbreaking can be expected?
Oh, good question. And by the way, I didn't mention at the top that I'm a big fan. I enjoy watching the podcast.
Thank you.
I didn't mention that at the top, but I do want to get that in, and that I enjoy watching it, and that you inform. I watch a lot of Bay Area stuff,
Wow.
just to keep informed. I'm from California originally, Southern California.
Okay.
But I want to keep informed on what's going on, especially with this issue. So thank you for that. Okay, groundbreaking. I did ask John Fisher that question during a press conference. You can see it on my YouTube page. On Friday night, when they announced the patches on the left shoulder that they're going to have with Las Vegas on there. And I asked him, okay, groundbreaking. His answer, I'm paraphrasing, was pretty much, groundbreaking sort of started at the implosion. Okay, last November. All right. And they have leveled, I've seen the site, even though there's a big fence around it, you can go up top and you can see the site. They've leveled the ground pretty much. He said, I thought it was going to be this spring originally. Most people think in April. Now he said sometime in the summer, but he feels that they've already broken ground because they're already doing stuff on the site. Okay, then it gets into semantics on what are you going to call the groundbreaking. The Raiders did an official groundbreaking. They did that night out there on site was remarkable. A great evening when Allegiant Stadium. The official groundbreaking for that was done. So I don't know if we're going to see an official groundbreaking or they're just going to start building stuff. There's nothing coming out of the ground. It's right now it's flat, but it's been graded to the point that it's ready to roll whenever they want to start doing something. Permitting process has to happen. I will say this to the different projects, and this is somebody from the outside looking in. I've done a lot of work with TV stations in the Bay Area, so I've been there. I've had some experiences with that. But from what I see on the outside looking in, is that it takes a while to get things done in California.
Yes.
Especially in the East Bay.
No question.
That process is laborious, that process filled with regulations and issues and problems. And how do you get this done? And how do you get that done? And you got to have this report and that report. And Vegas gets things done quickly. If we want to make something happen, we make it happen.
Question. You were talking about the Raiders for a little bit. You were real close to Allegiant Stadium and that whole process. Is the process at this point with regard to the A's the same as when the Raiders were building, different, or, to be announced?
Similar.
Similar.
They're using the same construction company.
Okay.
Now that the A's have hired Mark Bedane, former Raiders president.
What do you think of that before? Yeah.
I know Mark. I've gotten to know him here in town. I knew him when he was covering the Raiders, and since then he's been with a group called the Oakview Group to build an NBA stadium on the south end of the Strip, which he says is still going to be happening, but he's not associated with them anymore. They have, I believe, the money, the resources, the ability to make that happen, and I believe they will. But that's a different topic. I love the idea. I think it's a great idea because he helped facilitate that the building of Allegiant Stadium, and it got built under budget and under the time frame. So they built it faster than expected and under budget. So I expect Mark Bedane to sort of do the same thing here with this baseball stadium, to be able to do that. They've got a tight window now. If they're not breaking ground till the summer, it's going to be tight to make the 2028 season. So they're going to need that. They're going to have to go into hyper mode. I think he can do that. I think he also eases. Well, here's the indication. You know better than I the history, the negative history between the A's and the Raiders in the Bay Area, dealing with Oakland Alameda Coliseum.
100%.
And I was at that game, the games, two series of games at Cashman Field in '96, when the A's played regular season games in Vegas.
Mount Davis, yep.
Yes, because Mount Davis wasn't completed.
Built, yeah.
So I know that history, and I know the animosity towards one another. Mark Davis this week significantly said that he thinks it's a great move. He likes the idea that Mark Bedane is now with with the Athletics, and that's a positive thing for the Athletics. So that's I think it's a good thing. I thought I was a little bit shocked, quite frankly. It was one. There are not many news stories that shock me nowadays, but when I saw that alert, I said, okay, good move. Yeah.
So this feels similar to Allegiant as far as the timing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, some of the differences, they had a $750 million room tax for Allegiant Stadium that they imposed upon visitors that come to town, or if locals want to have a staycation. Okay. By the way, let me give you a little tip on the room tax, Booney, if you don't know it.
Sure.
If you stay in a Vegas casino, ask them to remove the room tax.
Really?
Sometimes they will.
Okay.
So my brother has come to town and stayed here a few times, and I gave him that little tip. And if you ask, hey, can you take the room tax off? It's a little more expensive than what I thought. Many of the casinos have flexibility to be able to do that. So that means, wait, I just took tax money from the state of Nevada. But it's so you had that imposed, and that was an issue, I think, with a lot of people. It was with me quite a bit. But that now it's shown that Allegiant. I couldn't imagine Vegas without Allegiant Stadium because of the concerts. I've been to a handful of concerts there, special events. We see rugby coming to Vegas. We see, besides the Raiders, there are 40, 50 events a year that take place in that stadium that are mega events that Vegas otherwise couldn't have. So I think we're going to see benefits from the tax structure for the 300 between $300 and $400 million tax revenue that's going to be going into this new stadium. Much of it is a use tax. So the people who participate, who buy tickets, who buy hot dogs, who on that site, that acreage right there, will pay an additional tax for that. So that's pretty democratic. That's you go there, you get the tax. Got no problem with that.
If you were to speculate, what do you think the holdups are right now with regard to groundbreaking? What do you think is going on? What do you think we're waiting for? I mean, for all sense and purposes, we haven't seen any type of money from Fisher, right? I've covered this before. I don't think it's smart for him to do any type of escrow deposit. I have a pretty good idea of where that money is coming from and how it's doing it. Steve Ballmer did it with the Clippers. Jerry Jones did it with Texas Stadium. They're going to use some other instrument where he's borrowing from his other assets in order to come up with his money, which they have plenty of. But again, if you were to speculate, what do you think is the holdup? What do you think we're waiting for?
Well, we're waiting for number one for the land to be handed over to the Stadium Authority Board from Bally's that currently runs the property, and GPL, I forget the acronym of the company. That actually owns it. Okay, so there has to be right now the Stadium Authority doesn't have that property in their possession to be able to do any sort of groundbreaking on it. So they technically couldn't until that happens. That should happen in April, I believe. So next month to have that handover. Is it financing? Yeah, the Fisher family has the money. I mean, they could fund it all themselves if they want to. It's under $2 billion. They have the money to be able to do it. I think they're waiting for better financing.
That's what I think. Yeah.
I think that's, well, let's go here. Okay, now I'll compare it to Allegiant Stadium. Sheldon Adelson, owner of the late Sheldon Adelson now, whose wife bought the Dallas Mavericks not too long ago, a year ago or so, bought majority ownership in the Mavericks. They own the Sands Casino, Sands Convention Center. Sands, that's the family, one of the richest families on the planet right there. Sheldon Adelson was the first who talked about trying to get the Raiders here. And he had Napoleon McCallum work for him, still works for the Sands. Napoleon, see him around all the time.
Right.
Great former Raider.
Yeah.
So Napoleon sort of got in his head, let's do this. Let's get the Raiders here, former Raider. Let's get a stadium. He was going to put $500 million into that process. Well, after the process had already started, he pulled out. For whatever reason, he pulled out. Perhaps location, because it's closer to MGM properties, not his property in the Sands. Maybe he had different expectations of that because it's right by 7 MGM. I've called Allegiant Stadium the MGM Stadium many times because it was conveniently placed right there for all of those properties to take advantage of, which they do. Same thing with this stadium is going to be right there with all those MGM properties. Yeah. Now, Sheldon pulled out, and they found within it took a few weeks, but there were some questions. There were people going, "What's going to happen?" They found Bank of America. The NFL got involved. Got Bank of America, the official card of the NFL at the time, and maybe still is. I don't know. They got them involved, and they put up the $500 million in a low interest loan to be able to finalize it, make it happen. And then Mark Davis put up the rest, and another $500 million from him, I believe. So that's got to be close to that.
Sure.
To that $1.9 billion that it costs to build Allegiant. So that I think they're waiting. Major League Baseball wants the A's in Las Vegas. The Players Association wants the A's in Las Vegas. For whatever reason, I could speculate on that, but I think everybody knows them.
Go forever, yeah.
And I'll badmouth Oakland and get in trouble again when I say that. But they want the stadium here. They've seen the success of the Knights. They've seen the success of the Raiders. They've seen the success of Formula One. They want to be part of that success here in with Las Vegas. And so they're going to find, I don't think Fisher's going to have a hard time finding the financing. Okay. So what is the holdup at this point? I think waiting for the best deal, waiting for the right deal, getting Major League Baseball involved as the NFL did with Mark Davis to make that happen here.
This episode is brought to you in part by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they are packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost, they are always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. The fact that Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein providing all 9 essential amino acids. How these little green wonders pack a protein punch. No shells, Wonderful Pistachios for that grab and go ease. The satisfying crack of opening each shell. It's like snack meditation. Whether you are running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Let's talk a little bit about the idea that the baseball stadium is diverting money from education. Now, we heard a court ruling from the Clark County Commissioner, Jim Gibson. He said SB 1 would not take a dime away from education. And actually, in the same year, SB 1 passed, education received a large budget increase. Is there a valid argument there? On the surface, it seems like it is. When I dig deeper, it seems like it's more shades of gray.
No, I don't think there is a valid argument there. They're getting support from, I think, somewhere else, some outside interest, maybe in the Bay Area, to help support them in what they're doing to try to put a wrench in the cog of this whole thing. It's not going to work. They're going to, tax revenue will increase because of the stadium being there. Thus, there will be more tax revenue for schools in the long run. So if you look at it, if you're looking at it for the next 5 minutes, okay, maybe you can make the argument that this money could have gone. But if you look at it the long term, and that's the way good politicians do look at things in the long term, it's going to be a benefit. Look at the numbers of Allegiant Stadium and what it has done, far surpassed what anybody thought Allegiant Stadium would do for Las Vegas, and the tax revenues have superseded what they've got. They're paying even through the pandemic. Okay, remember the Raiders started with the pandemic. It was goofy going into that, horrible. It was going into that stadium and seeing nobody there and wondering, okay, how are they going to pay that room tax off? Now they shut down Las Vegas. Steve Sisolak, former governor, who shut down Las Vegas wrongly, I believe, because anyway, that I won't get into that part of it. But he paid by not he lost his job. Joe Lombardo beat him in the next election after that because most people saw him as the guy who shut down the state and wanted to be like California, for that matter, and follow what Gavin Newsom did, without getting into too much of the politics. And Nevada's different. I mean, Nevada's battle born. Nevada feels like it's a Wild West state. We even though I'm from California, and there's a lot of Californians in this state, we still want to be different. We don't want to be California in that sense. And I know I've gotten off track a little bit, but it's worked here. The convention authority is interesting, and that's
what I was going to ask you. Are they a benefit? We've heard a lot about them as of late with regard to the patch. That they're funding the marketing of the A's. Their spending has been questioned as far as spending millions to wine and dine. And it seems like the stereotype out there is the taxpayers are paying all this money and nothing is coming back to the state, to the citizens, etc. Can you speak a little bit more on what the LVCVA is? We know what they are, but are they a benefit to the state? And where's all this money going?
No, they absolutely are a benefit. Now I'm going to mention Sheldon Adelson a second time during this podcast. Okay.
All right.
Because it's significant. And Sheldon Adelson started the Sands Convention Center when he bought the Sands Hotel, and it now is the Venetian and Palazzo. So if you know, location in the Vegas, Venetian and Palazzo, where it's at. Sheldon, great guy, knew him when he lived, and his wife Miriam and the family. Anyway, he hated the LVCVA. He had an ongoing battle with he bought the Review Journal newspaper here in town.
Okay.
And went on a mission against the convention authority because they were competition to him. So he's private enterprise, and the convention authority is getting taxpayer funds and room tax funds. And so Sheldon's issue was, I shouldn't have to compete. And I can't argue with this. I shouldn't have to compete against a state-run entity that is, again, partially funded with state tax revenue and room tax revenue. And so that was an ongoing battle as long as he was alive. I don't think Miriam has kept that battle going that her husband had. But oh no, it was pretty intense here and an interesting behind-the-scene politics. But what they decided to do, I'm going to go 8 to 10 years ago when Steve Hill took over for a guy named Rossi Rollencotter. They decided to make sports a big deal. They saw sports tourism as the next step for Las Vegas. And Vegas has been through a lot of different alliterations. Okay, we've been the mob town. I was here. I saw the end of the mob town. That was sort of fun. Got to meet a lot of them and have some great experiences with them. Oh. But that's for another day.
Yeah, it's for another day. Correct.
Got to. Let's see. And then it was a family town for a while, which was sort of strange. It lasted about 5 years. Then it's a party town. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Right.
Then it became a cuisine town where the restaurants and it's always been an entertainment town with the entertainment factor here. Well, it has never been a sports town in the sense that it would bring people in from out of town. The Speedway's been here 25 years now, so it's been pretty good at bringing people in from out of town. The mega fights bring people in from out of town. The UFC has brought people in from out of town beginning around the year 2000. But they saw when the key date here is 2018, when the U.S. Supreme Court decided that sports betting was not just something that Nevada could have, that it had to be opened up to every state in the union. And states, one by one, have decided, now we're up to 36, I think, states that have sports betting. So the sports leagues then had to figure out, wait a second, if sports betting is legal in New Jersey, and we've got the Giants and the Jets playing here, and the New Jersey Devils playing, we've got these teams playing in our state, how do we justify this? Well, the answer was the leagues had to embrace it. Now the leagues are now seeing DraftKings ads still I find funny during NFL games, because at one time baseball commissioner Bowie Kuhn would not allow casino ads on the outside walls at Cashman Field, the minor league ballpark in Las Vegas, would not allow it. And the argument was, well, why can't Caesars have one? It's a legitimate business here in town. Nope, you cannot. So they went from that to now this embracing. So it then opened the door for Vegas to have sports franchises that started with the Vegas Golden Knights coming here. And that franchise, and it worked and was effective. And I think when the other sports leagues saw the success of the Knights, not just on the ice, but just with the fan base, and how they could hold events, how they could do all-star games here, how they could do drafts here, how they could do the draft at the Sphere.
The NFL's a different now. The NFL draft, they're making a production out of it now.
Yes, the NFL draft was here. The Super Bowl was here. They've held things here. They started seeing that as their fans love this, so it just blew up from there. So the convention authority saw this, spotted this, and felt that that sports tourism could be a big deal. So they've actively gone out and tried to make things happen to bring teams here. So did they court the A? Sure. Yes, they did, to get John Fisher to come here when they saw it was a stalemate in the Oakland Bay. That they said, let's see what we could do here. And they've had a couple of different sites that they've talked about at different locations. And until this one, they finally settled on the site where the old Tropicana Hotel was. So that's the next step in Vegas, is bringing sports. Now, as a sports guy, it's easy for me to say I like it happening here. It's fun. I enjoy it. I'm a big sports fan. I cover sports. That's other than my family, that's my life.
I'm with you. Yeah.
So that part is enjoyable to me. So it's in my, I guess you could argue, self-interest that it happens.
The patch. I want to talk a little bit about the patch. Now, this is how I understand it being paid for in the simplest of terms. And I try to simplify everything. How I understand the tax being paid, the patch being paid for, is when I go to a Las Vegas hotel and I check out and I have my total room bill that I'm going to pay, which is, again, throwing out a number. Let's say it's $500. And below it's all the taxes. There seems to be, I don't know how many sub taxes out there that add up to be 567.30. I'm just throwing out numbers. My understanding is that, again, throwing out numbers, $2 will be an additional tax that goes to the patch that visitors will pay for. Question is, one, is that accurate? And if so, does that need to get voted on? Does that need to get passed by a government official or by the people? Excuse me.
Here's what
the
convention authority will do. They will vote on that expenditure if they haven't already. It's not unusual for them to do this. Case in point, they are the official sponsor of the Formula One race here, so they put money into the Formula One race. They put over $1 million, I know, last couple of years, into specific races on the Formula One circuit where they sponsored, where you could see Las Vegas. That same logo, by the way, that's going to be on the shoulder, different color, but that same logo is going to be on the left shoulder of the A's, which is the official convention authority logo for Las Vegas. Silverstone, England, last year and the year before, You saw those signs all over that cost them over $1 million to do that. They feel, and again, this is their marketing thing, is they feel that getting that message out there, and that getting that message out there for the next 3 years on the left shoulder of the Oakland A's is worth the money. Now, is it? I don't know. I don't know how you quantify something marketing like that. It's very hard to quantify that, and whether it is worth it or not, the expenditure. They're going to make that expenditure. From what you're telling me, and I haven't heard the number yet. $8.5 million is what you've heard.
Yeah.
For 3 years, is it worth it? I don't know. It's still, what it does is it keeps Vegas out there. It keeps Vegas relevant. Now, the A's would also argue, as did the Convention Authority, that it also solidifies that the A's are coming to Vegas. In case anybody wants to question that they're going to stay in Sacramento, or they're going to move to Portland, or Salt Lake's going to get them to go there, or Oakland's going to come up with an answer. Because, as you know, for the next 3 years, the Athletics are not going to have anything on their front chest except for A's and Athletics. They're not going to have a city name. So this solidifies that to people that have any question. That's their theory, at least. I think it does. It does that. Is there some value in that? Yeah, I think there is some value in that, to go, wait a second, Vegas is all in. We want to support this team. We're supporting them now even before they come here, and we're going to make this happen. I don't think there's any – I'm going to go back. There's no question the team is coming here. And the people that want to think, for whatever reason, politically or otherwise, that they're going somewhere else. Fisher would not have gone this far. The Convention Authority would not have gone this far without it happening, without it coming, without them knowing it would come here. Plus, John Fisher has to see what has happened to Mark Davis when he moved the team. The team has doubled in value, at least. The Raiders are twice as valuable in Vegas as they were in Oakland. Fisher sees that. So if you want to call him a money-grubbing billionaire, okay. His franchise is okay. Go ahead. To me, billionaire is not a pejorative. It's a goal.
What person wouldn't want to double their business, whether you're a billionaire, a thousandaire, a millionaire?
Well, it's your obligation to do that.
Right. Yeah.
You have to. If you have the opportunity to do that reasonably, you do it. It should be your obligation to your business, to Major League Baseball. The vote was 30-0.
Any business, any business, you have to do that. Yeah.
So he sees that Mark Davis has doubled his franchise in value. Does he want the same thing for the A's? Could it happen to the A's? I expect it will happen for the A's, that it will double in value being here. The fan base is sort of interesting, because the Raiders haven't really, I don't think, adopted a major fan base here in town. If you look at what happens in the stands.
No, yeah, that's another criticism.
That's a whole different issue. And I think Oakland's going to have Oakland. Sorry, I still call them the San Diego Chargers sometimes.
Sure, no, I'm with you. So do I. I didn't know they were LA now,
but you're going to have an issue with the Athletics here in town when they do come here in 3 years, where you're going to have a lot of out-of-town fans. Well, that's the game plan. MGM buys up a lot of those seats, and they already have the system. MGM, Caesars, Harrah's, other casinos already have. They got private jets, big ones. They fill them up with fans from Chicago when the Bears come to town, and they're going to be in the stands here, and they're going to be in those seats. And these are whales that spend a lot of money at casinos. Locals buy tickets and then sell them or keep them depending on the game. That happens. That's going to happen with the Athletics.
Speaking of tickets, did that $19.01 deposit make any sense to you? For me, I was like, I don't know. I didn't understand the purpose. For me, it wasn't a big deal, but at the same time, I was like most others. I was like, why?
A bit of a gimmick.
Yes.
Here's what it does. I think all it does is separate people who are, I don't even want to use the word serious, because $20 is not serious.
Right.
But the Raiders did it for $100. Okay. That didn't seem serious. Okay. $100, put $100 down, and it goes to their foundation, and you get to be in line for tickets. In this case, it's 1901, because that's the year the franchise began in Philly. Okay. But it separates some dude from just going on his computer and sending in his email address and saying, okay, I'm in line. And you at least have to have a little skin in the game. It's
This episode is brought to you in part by SupplyHouse. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. SupplyHouse, whether you are in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, SupplyHouse is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? SupplyHouse offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code S-H-5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. You have covered some of the most legendary events out there. Now, when growing up, what I remember is the boxing. Guys like Tyson, Ernst Hagler, UNLV, the running Rebels in the late 80s, early 90s, the Shark Tank, the Thomas and Mack, all that good stuff. Obviously, sports is different now in Vegas than it was. What are some of your memories? What are some of your memorable events that you have covered, been through in Vegas, that you're like, wow, was it boxing? Is it the Vegas nights?
I'll go back. Okay, the first week I got to town, April of '84, April 5th. I got here on the 2nd was my first day on the job. And April 5th, 1984, and you'll remember this moment when I tell you about it, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar broke Wilt Chamberlain's all-time NBA scoring record.
Jazz.
Thomas and Mack.
Against Utah.
Yes, the Jazz were playing a split schedule. So we had the NBA playing here in Las Vegas, playing a split schedule. Sam Battistone, the owner of the A's, was looking. The Jazz weren't doing well in Salt Lake, in the Salt Palace, 5,000, 8,000 fans a game.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw Vegas as a hotbed, the new Thomas and Mack with its luxury suites and everything. He was looking at a place to go to. But Vegas didn't embrace the Utah Jazz because they were the Utah Jazz. But that day, the Lakers, obviously a sellout. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar sets the all-time NBA scoring record. I'm sitting there, a Southern California kid, Laker fan growing up. I'm in heaven. I'm going, wow, I think I can stay. I can hang at this place. Next month after that, month or two, Tommy Hearns fought Roberto Duran outdoors at Caesar's Palace. And that was a second-round knockout. Incredible fight out there. A year later was, you mentioned Hagler Hearns. I mean, that was
maybe the most memorable fight in the history, arguably one of them.
Yeah, go on YouTube. Come on, 9 minutes. It's only 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Marvin Hagler, my favorite fighter, ended up knocking out Tommy Hearns. So there's a spoiler alert. It's been 40 years. But he's left-handed. I'm left-handed, so I love that. He was also fun to talk to. I liked Hagler's attitude of just going forward all the time and being crazy. I do remember going to that fight and going into the media section. Now I've been in Vegas for a whole year. I'm 26 years old. And I look behind me, and there's Steve Wynn and Sylvester Stallone. As Rocky Balboa, their seats were behind me. I said, I don't belong here, but but it was crazy. After the first round, the entire stadium, even the media section, stood up and cheered because you couldn't, because that first round was so incredible. Now, I don't remember if Jim Murray from the LA Times stood up and cheered. Probably not. But it was just the stadium just erupted after that opening round between those two fighters because it was such a brawl, and you knew it wasn't going to last much longer.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, covering Tyson's career from start to finish was a thrill ride. There were times where I would do an interview with him, and he'd get mad at me and want to just yell and would yell at me. And
is that right?
Call me a smart ass. And what are you asking that question for? And then next time I'll go there and he'd say, hey, Ron, why don't you come by one of my training sessions and bring your boys? We're great friends now. Let's see. 1990 in Denver, McNichols Arena, 103-73. UNLV beats Duke to win the national championship there, because Rebel basketball, the beginning and the end of everything was Rebel basketball in this city and being there on that court for that day. It's three as we get into March Madness. Okay, three records I watch every year that happen. No team in the championship game has ever scored over 100 points.
Okay.
The Rebels are the only team to have done that.
Right.
30 points is the largest margin of victory in a championship game. And they are the last team from a small conference to win the national championship.
Yes.
Was the Big West, is where the Rebels
were at
that time. And another one you can mention is McNichols Arena was the last time they played in Denver. Last time they played in a relatively small arena, 17,000. Everything since then has been in the megadomes. Has been in this, 60,000, 70,000 seat, large dome stadiums. So it was sort of, and I still will give people that will talk to me about that team, that time, that day, everything with Rebel basketball. It really had a tremendous impact on the sport in so many ways. Then when the Knights won the Stanley Cup championship, it was
compare the Knights championship to back then as well, huh? Wow.
I was on the ice interviewing players. Okay, I have a fun story with this, and there's a picture of it. And my oral surgeon, everybody needs a good oral surgeon, right? Especially hockey teams. So my oral surgeon is on the ice, and he hands me his phone, and he's got the cup, and the players handed him the cup to hold up. And so he lifted it up, and I took a picture of it, and he looked at me and says, "Ron, you want to hold the cup?" I said, "No, I'm really not worthy. I don't know. Maybe one of these days I'll be a Stanley Cup champion, so I don't want to touch it yet."
Yeah.
No, my answer was, "You bet." yes, and hell yes. And he handed me the cup, and so I got to hold up the cup, the Stanley Cup, on the ice after the Knights won over my head. So that was a bit of a thrill. I don't think there are too many people in this city around that have held the been on the ice for that, been able to hold up the cup, and been in McNichols Arena on the floor for the Rebels when they cut down the nets for that national championship. So I've been blessed. I've been blessed to be at some pretty significant events here in Las Vegas. I'm a bit of a race nut. I like Formula One. I love seeing that here in town. I love the optimism of this city. I love that it's always thinking about moving forward. I'll use a word. How about this one, Booney? I use the word progressive. Politically, this town we're a purple state. Okay. Yeah. But I love the feeling of progress here that you have in Southern Nevada and in Las Vegas of, if we want to make something happen, we're going to do it and make it happen.
Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast with host Dominic Martino and Matthew Onai. MLB fantasy draft season is here. Be the most informed fan and set yourself up for a league win. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts.